everybody. It's really great to be here with you today. My name's Hugu, or Hal for short, and you can see at the bottom of my screen. And we are here for the Oxford Real Farming Conference talk called Community Managed Fisheries, Stories from the Dao. I've been asked, and I'm honoured to introduce this talk with my friend Setuj Hugu, who you're going to meet shortly. But first, before I introduce him and tell you a little bit about him before he talks, I wanted to just do a little bit of housekeeping because the talk. Hello, everybody. It's really great to be here with you today. My name's Hugu, or Hal for short, and you can see at the bottom of my screen. And going on here. We are here for the Oxford Real Farm.
Oh. One minute, folks. We're experiencing a slight technical difficulty.
You're going to meet.
So, Hannibal, you'll need to close the Crowdcast tab. That you have a window open that's from the Crowdcast feed.
Okay. Sorry, that was my bad. Sorry for the technical problems, everyone. Yes, so Hugu's here with us today, and he's going to talk for about 40 minutes after this introduction, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time left at the end for some questions to come through to him. And if there's lots of questions, we have the option of breaking out into a little Zoom room where you can have more of a discussion with him. So yes, the talk itself is 55 minutes long. I'll move on to talking about Hugu now. And before I do that, I'm just going to share my screen. I first met Hugu when he was dip netting for whitefish on a river in Finland, wrapped up in a lot of warm clothing, and I met him again in 2019 when he was beam fishing for salmon in Taiwan territory in far northwestern British Columbia in Canada. So I've seen firsthand his prowess as a fisherman, but neither of those are his preferred means of fishing. We're going to be hearing today about a very particular type of fishing that Hugu does back in his homeland of Pongso no Tao, which is also known as Orchid Island, which is off the coast of Taiwan. And they are set apart by being flying fish fishermen. So if you've ever wondered how that works, we should be hearing a bit more about it today. But they're not only flying fish fishermen there. They are fishing about 180 different varieties of fish across the year, as well as farming on the land. So a real mixed food and farming economy on the island, which goes back many generations. And the reason that they do this, and as we're going to hear a lot more from Hugu, is to alleviate any overpressure on any particular resource, any particular species of fish throughout the year. So it's a system of fishing that's deeply in balance with the local and ecological realities that they're dealing with there on Pongso no Tao. It's a system that's been tried and tested over generations and has found a balance between providing the people with food and conserving the ocean and the land that the people are using. In other words, they're respecting nature whilst providing for all of their needs. As well as being a fisherman and being deeply involved and a knowledge keeper and a storyteller for his people, as you'll see, Hugu is also a leading advocate for his people, for their fishing, and for others like them who are conserving their landscapes whilst providing food for their communities all around the world. He's an advocate on the global stage for the Indigenous and Community Conserved Areas Consortium, which champions the rights of land and water-based communities whose culture, whose governance systems, and whose spirituality lead to a very positive relationship and symbiotic relationship with the lands that they live on. So communities like the Dao people, which Hugu is going to tell us all about. And without further ado, I think we should move on and hear from Hugu on all of these things himself. He's a remarkable man. It's a pleasure to know him. And we'll come back at the end for any of the questions that come up from his talk. So Hugu, good to have you with us.
Aku ki sira pakak maun suuvi. This is our language called Chirichiring Nutawo, spoken by about 3,000 people still. I will start our session by ancient chanting or song from our ancestor. Aku cinimanalo karawan padita otala ano mau nga nilalagan Kano chinau tawana to talaon Ano mawunga nilalagan ho Orewo ipanchinia no nawu I give a detour interpretation. It is or just singing. I learned it from our elders. It is starting from why we are coming to this world. If you do not build a house to shelter your family, if you do not join the fishing group to build the big boat for the flying fishing season, if you do not carve and decorate your small boat and hold the launching ceremony with a feast to share with the whole community, then how can you say you are Tao, a human being? So, starting by it, I would share you about yes, I'm come from a small island of about 45 square kilometer only, a volcanic island, and this is quite common in the Pacific, so-called Pacific small islands. So I would say what is our situation and the context to start our talking today. In the Pacific, the so-called small islands are rooted in the ocean, surrounded by coral reefs, passed by ocean currents, visited seasonally by migratory birds, by migratory fishes, encountering tropical cyclones and a monsoon annually, and connected by Austronesian indigenous seafaring. But now we are experienced of a climate change in extreme weather, global warming, and the species migration. We are impacted seriously by ocean pollution, over-harvesting, and seabed extractivism. Traditionally, we are live on local food chain and the community value web. Now we are resisting the vicious, invasive global supply chain and a global value chain. Yes, so this is our situation and context. Some is common as yours, yeah, some is our crisis. So as I say about the small island, so you can see that we are surrounded by coral reef and we are passed by the ocean current. So we have two types of fisheries the whole year and arranged in by season. So we have a migratory fishing in the spring to summer, early summer, when the seawater become warm up, and the flying fish go north. Also, the predator of flying fishes come along. So this is the migratory fishing season. And after it, maybe from July, that yes, we have the go back to the coral reef fishing. So this is a way of living. This is not only just the topic talking about a community managed fisheries. This is our culture. This is our way of living. Also, this is our style of life. So go back to the migratory fishing first. Actually, I think I'm the first to share it in the Wired Congress in Spain about the interspecies compact between the Tao people and the noble black-winged flying fishes. Because following our mythology, the anthropology say it is a mythology, but this is in our sacred knowledge that that is the ancestor of flying fishes who have the knowledge of the fish. And it is from the noble black-winged fishes, the leader of the flying fishes group, the schools, who teaches all the knowledge, including and very practical and effective eco calendar. We called it ahehep. It is, say, the evening of the Tao people. Actually, because it is a lunar calendar calibrated by the solar cycle. So the start is typical. This is of the indigenous knowledge. It is simple but subtle. You can see that our ancestors observe the sky and give 30 names to the phasing moons. Of course, inside it there's some rules that we know that there is before the full moon and after the full moon. So we say the growing up and the come down. So we divide it into two parts, and some of the name is share the same name, about half, but given it is say that it is uskana or angarana, going up or going down. After we give the 30 name, then we know the lunar cycle, and then we give the name to the 12 months according to what is the most important things in the month. the key activity, the key production activity in the month. So we give it a name. We are not counting the number. We give it a name. But because the fine fishing catching season is so important for us, so we need to catch up with the cycle of the solar cycle of the sun, that when the flying fish come to our island, and we need to start it by ceremony on the beach before we starting the catching season of flying fishes and its predators. So actually, we have in the collation rules calibrated by the biological rhythm or biological clock of the flying fish. The migratory fishes come to our island. Then we know that 2 or 3 years we need to put one that month to our calendar. So that is a leap year. But we're doing this is not by calculation or by astronomer or astronomy knowledge or the mathematical formula. We just following the coming of flying fish. But actually, we don't forecast it. So actually, this is following by, if last year, say last year is a leap year for us. But the year before, in 2019, when we finish our flying fish season, we will know that the catching, the harvest is not enough because we start too late or too early. Because we start too early, then we will finish the season too early. So following our calendar, we divide the whole year into 3 seasons. The first season, Rayon, is for the migratory fishing, and it is about 4 months. But sometimes it will extend to another month for the harvesting of the migratory fishes. And after the migratory fishing seasons is we call this the icca. After the season finish the migratory season, we come back to the coral reef and come back to the farming system. The farming system, the same with the ozonation in the Pacific, that this is a millet, there is a yam, there is a sweet potato also, and the taro, of course. Taro is the most important. So we calculate actually it's by the harvesting quantity. We know by experience that every household will need about 800 to 1,000 pieces of dried flying fishes, flying fishes to use and eat in the coming summer season. Because summer season in our place, as I've been talking about this tropical cyclone, in this area we call this typhoon. And this in the summer, every year they will come 3 or 5. And also if we are going to the field or we are busy for building new houses, we will need these dried flying fishes. So every time if we finished the season, catch only about 500, half the quantity, we know that, yeah, this is the year to extend another month for flying fish. And this is dynamically, we just put it. We just have a consensus meeting by the fishing group masters and talking about binus no matao, continue our work on the sea. And then Mama would know apiabakan. Then we borrow the next half of the month from the next month. So actually, we adding only about half. We will close the fishing, the microfishing, to next full moon. So it is about 2 weeks. But because this is the peak season, a peak time of when the flying fish come in, so we can take it every day, buy a small boat, maybe 50 to 80. Not every day have a good harvesting, but actually in the shortest, in the last harvesting day of the last 2 weeks, we can have about 300 to 500 more of the fishes. Then you know that we close the migratory fishing season, not because the fish is gone. This is also the kernel of the compact, the interspecies compact. That's because all the fishes come to reproduce, for their mating season, for their the peak of their reproduction. So in our analysis system, we know that that's the time we should close our season and let them to have their next generation too. So then we go back to the land. We have a big festival, mythology. We harvest millage and then have a big festival to open, to close the microfishing season, and then to open the next season for our work in the coral reef and also on the taro paddy and the dry land gathering. So this is the story of flying fish. But the flying fish come also with its predators. This is tuna. This is swordfish. This is a dolphin fish. And this is also what we respect and also important harvest in this season. But all these knowledge about the fishes, which will come along, which school of flying fishes will come first, which is and what is their behavior. Yeah, this is in the contents of what the ancestor of a black-winged flying fish teach us. So every generation we will recite this story again and again. Then when we come back to the coral reef, this is what the horror is talking about, that yes, we give a name to the marine creature, about 450. This means that we recognize or we know so many species. And in the coral reef, we divide it into three categories in the food, in our food, our seafood. First is good and beautiful fish called uyut. The next is bad and ugly fish called ragged. The third is jingangana. This is the fish we don't eat. We don't eat. Actually, it is not that it is unedible, but it's yeah, by some reason that our ancestors say that yeah, this is in the category of the jingangana, so we don't eat it. So for the first one, uyut, this fish is the best one, and it is for women and children first. And for ragged is for men and older peoples only. So women and the children never eat the bad and ugly fish. They eat only the good one. And mostly men and older people every day, we eat mostly is the bad and the ugly fish. But up still, it is also still is nutritious. But yeah, and then so this is recorded that there's is we eat about 180, and then by meta interpretation, when the ecologists come to our island, they say, yeah, this is a good strategy of sustainable usage. So you can see first in the migratory fishing season, when the flying fishes come and gathering for their reproduction, we start when they're in the peak time of mating. We go back to coral fish, then we don't eat everything, but we also spreading. We also eat about more than half of the fishes, but we will not catch only the 10 economic species on the market or something. So this is so different. So it is like that. Their meta interpretation that this will have less or least pressure when you eating 180 species around your island, and also by different months, by different places. So yeah, we were never over harvesting, and they also will have a very good living in their habitats. So this is two types. So I say that there is two types, but how? What is the rule? In this rule, it is following our taboo norms. We call it the Makanel. So in the migratory season, the taboo norm is that you cannot touch, or you cannot eat also, actually you cannot touch the coral reef. We will not go to the coral reef for fishing. Generally, we will go to diving and also angling. No, we would not do it. We can catch only the flying fish and its predators. Yeah, this picture is a beautiful one. This is the big board for our migratory fishing season, and this is launching the board in the 2009. And the second taboo norm is something like that. I say that yeah, why the women and the children eat only good fish, and the men and the older people eat only or it's mostly the bad and ugly fish. And there are more than 200 species that we put it on the category of a jigangana. So the two type, I say one is about the land and the sea ethic, and the other is actually cultural aesthetic. Say if by you people that you will have different cultural ethic as us, that you say this is good fish or ugly, beautiful or ugly, good or bad. This is not by scientific, this is by cultural aesthetic. And we develop it into some kind of etiquette on the table. We design and made a different wooden plate for uyud and ra'ud. So good fish is in one type of the wooden plate, and the bad fish on the other one. They cannot the bad fish cannot put on the good fish plate. So because this is also a makaniam, a taboo. And of course, for the flying fish, they have another design or type of wooden plate for it. And we are cooking flying fish, the migratory fish, in different pot than with the coral reef. But this design is not about the ethic. This is about the aesthetic. So this is what I say, the two type of tabonomes, land and the sea ethic, under the cultural aesthetic. And this is about, and also this is about our way of living and the style of life. I think I can. This is the share is not very much, but actually I would like to dialogue with you. Is what is the meaning of our we still doing this way in such time, and the pressure of the globalization of capitalism on raw material, on labor force, on local market. What is the meaning? Because I want to say that for us, the community or the people is embedded in the interspecies habitats. And the community and the people is connected to all beings around us. So this is the way. Austria is my way, but maybe not for the next generation. They are under the siege of the modernization and globalization. We will lose it. So the meaning is how can we go back to the embeddedness and the connectedness to this world? Even you are a farmer or I'm a fisher. Actually, we also growing things, but in the Pongso Tao, the division of a work in a house is based on is a household based. So man is on the sea and in the forest, and the woman is in the tidal zone and in the farming fields. So this embeddedness and the connectedness actually is also need to keep what do we say an indigenous local knowledge and a land and the sea ethic. But if the knowledge system and the value system is gone away, how can we keep it? 4,000 years, this is a living tradition without a written system. This is by the oral tradition, by practicing in the field. Go to the sea, go to the land, or go to the mountain. We keep it by adaptation, innovation, and evolution. But now, by the modern system of the market and by the modern system of the mass education, from my generation, yeah, so we are under much pressure. And also, this is why when we're talking about conservation, I always say that we should conserving the trinity of language, culture, and the biological diversity. And this trinity, the conservation should, based on what I say about talking about the embeddedness and the connectedness by practice and by belief system, you doing it. So that I would like to I talking mostly as from the topic the indigenous people, and Hor have introduced me that yes, I'm also in the ICC movement, Indigenous Community Conserved Area, and now they talk it to it as territory of life. I would like to invite you to dialogue and to exchange about the indigenous community conserved area as territory of life, and how about yours, an intentional community conserved area as territory of life. So I think it seems I talk to. I think I can stop first here, and I would like to know that there is a question or a dialogue, maybe also from Hor to starting our talking. That's it, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. Could you maybe move? Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing such a deep insight into Tao culture and the way that you manage an incredibly unique and delicate system across the year. We do have some questions that have come in, so we can devote the last 10 minutes or so to these questions that have come in from the audience. The first one, I think, is a bit of a clarification on what you were saying, which is that you mentioned that you split the coral reef fish into 3 categories, and one of those categories is bad and ugly. And somebody has asked, what makes a fish bad and ugly? And you explained that a little bit, but maybe you can tell us a bit more about why they're called bad and ugly, if they can be eaten. And you say it's a sort of cultural and aesthetic thing, but maybe you could give us some more background on that.
Actually, first, of course, the for us, our culture aesthetics, there's this by at least mostly two way. First is the yeah, but three. First is what is look about. But in our aesthetics, there's so many tropical coral fishes. This is so beautiful, but this is mostly in the bad fish. Very colorful, very fantastic. This because in our aesthetic, this is also is dangerous. This is not good. So actually, even the women do not decorate too much. We have a very simple color, and for those very big like a butterfly or like a sunflower is very so fantastic. We see this is not good in our aesthetics. So first is the looking, second is the behavior. Say the ear, sea ear or something. Yeah, this is we maybe think this is some vicious or something, so we also don't eat. But many people eat it. And the other things is, of course, the taste, the smell and taste of the fish. Mostly in the good category, and yeah, this is mostly for you. You will say that most it is almost universal that everybody will say that this is good fish. But in the bad and ugly, maybe some of you will say, yeah, why this is bad or ugly? This is good for us. And also for Jigangana, I say that the sea eel, yeah, also many people eat it. We don't eat it. It's not. It is not. It is not there unedible. It's just that we because of behavior, and yeah, we don't like it. Or our ancestors say no, we don't. Well, because we have so many things. But yes, maybe someday some anthropologists or maybe they will want to. I know that someone have want to check it and give that there is a rule. Why by what rule you put them in the in the unedible. Say that in the coral reef, the sea eel also is a predator. But we don't. But sometimes we also eat the predator species. Say in the flying-fish season, yeah. So the rule is not that yeah we don't eat the predator or on the top predator. Yeah, this is not a rule. But so I don't know, but this is quite arbitrary. But this from it reflects our cultural aesthetic.
Thank you.
The very important, you say that yeah we don't like the very beautiful one. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, Hugu. Yeah, that adds a lot more detail, so I appreciate that. We have another question, which is more about, and you didn't speak so much about your farming on the land. We've had a question come in from somebody who says that they're trying to find out more about their Taiwanese indigenous ancestry, and they would really love to know more about how you farm, and in particular if you farm in wetland areas. So maybe for the taro, but perhaps you could provide a bit more detail on how and what methods you use for farming.
Farming system in Pongso maybe is the most complex than in the mainland Taiwan. So we have the three systems. First is the millet farming. Millet agriculture is very ancient. It cover maybe the whole Asia and also other places. So we also have a millet. So this is before the rice and before the wheat or maize. So in our here first we have millet, but actually millet have the harvest of the production of millet is tradition is the quantity or the production is not so good. So so the second system is the taro system. But you can see taro most now is kept in the Pacific Austronesian area. And the taro, we have two systems. One is the wetland, one is the dry land. So there is a dry land taro and there also wet taro. There's a different species or varieties. So in Taiwan, this is a Tao people because we have the irrigation system to have the wheat taro paddy, just like the rice paddy, but this is for taro. And we grow also wheat, this is yam. So this is another system. This is also an ancient one because this is traditionally we maybe is from gathering, but then we keep it to grow it in the mountainside. It should be with a good sunlight. So we plant it in different fields. Say in the dry land, there with millet, and then afterward with maybe we will dry taro. And then another place will grow yam. And for with taro field, with irrigation system, it's for wet taro only. I want to supplement it that in a small island, we keep the agrobiodiversity because this is very important for us. So we have 12 species of millet. We have 6 species of yam. We have also 12 of taro. And then in these 200 or 300 years, we also introduced the sweet potato. So yeah, this is a natural farming because we don't use any fertilizer. So it need, even in the wet taro field, we need rotation. And in the dry land, you know, this is a firing and the fallowing. And maybe you buy 2 or 3 years, you put it into rest for another 5 to 7 years, then go back again. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hugu. Yeah, that's a lot of good extra detail. We've had some questions come in about the organizations and your work in general in Taiwan. And I'm just in Pongso no Tao, and I'm thinking about how to turn that into a question. I think perhaps you mentioned that the major challenges that your people are facing from the legacy of colonialism, capitalism, deep sea mining, lots of overexploitation of the fisheries. And I'm wondering what your organization and the Taiwan Indigenous Community Conserves Union, the ICCA Consortium, and you personally are doing to ensure that the Tao people's very intricate and complex culture and relationship, this Interspecies Pact with not only the flying fish but also the wider ecosystem. How are you trying to keep that alive and meet the challenges that you're facing at this moment in history?
Until now, because the Pongso Tao is in the whole region is the last one, the last interpeople to encounter in the colonial region. So the whole Taiwan maybe is controlled half by the Chinese immigrant, from the 17th century, after the Dutch Eastern Indian company. But Pongso Tao encountering Japanese colonial government only after 1895, the end of the 19th century. But you know that much earlier, our relative in the Batanes Island of the Philippines, they encountered Spanish also in the 18th century or something. So we are in the end or late 19th century. But so quickly that in the Japanese period of 50 years, this island is access control. And the Japanese do detour on modernization of our people. So the impact is only after the Second World War. Then the Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalist China exiled company, exiled government, defeated by the communist China, they come to Taiwan. So this is after 1950 that in these 70 years, yeah, this is the most impact. But because we are so rooted and also isolated in the island, so the traditions are very strong. The knowledge is still there. So we have our stories that when they come in, they have a labor camp for prisoner. They have set up also, you know, that the nuclear waste dumping depository in our island. So it is, and we started the fighting actually only after Taiwan government have lifted its martial law from 1987. So this only these 30 more years. But in these 30 more years, what we are people doing is that one is that after the mass education, almost in my generation, that most people, young people, move out about 15 after the junior high school, because junior high school become the support by the government, that everybody go to the school, but we go out to work, because when we finish our junior high school, we become not modern people, also not the Tao people. We lose our way of living, knowledge of the time. Actually, we are actually traditionally after 15, we go into the adult the society. We are men. We will go to the field. We will go to the sea. We are preparing to your marriage maybe 5 or 8 years later. But now, when you are educated by the modern system, you know nothing, the modern thing or the traditional things. And then it's me that I go to Taiwan to workers, unskilled worker from the factory. But very good is that maybe in these 20 or 30 years, the generation like me, that we come back. We come back from the modern world to try to connect up with the tradition. By action that actually is, the one is the land and the sea, the rights on land and the sea territory. The second is the resource rights. But in the modern state, almost they say that the natural resources on the land, on the forest, or on the sea is the property of a state. Now it's still the situation. But of course, we have some niche that, yes, because they have so little economic value in the market. So we still use it in our way, because we have the knowledge to use it. Because you know that in a subtropical rainforest, most tree is not economic species for the market. But only you have the knowledge, you know, yes, we use maybe 7 to 9 species in making our plank board. We will use more species and more trees in our traditional housing system. So Tao people is also doing farming, also good in take care of forest. In the whole indigenous people in Taiwan, we are the most people use the most uh, timbers from the forest. But still, for 1,000 years, the subtropical rainforest is there. So this is another story that how you manage. We not only manage the sea, we also manage the forest. We also keep the three different farming system for millet, for yam, and for taro. And we also keep the agrobiodiversity to keep the diversity of our food. And also now they are talking about the security or the sovereignty of the food.
Thank you so much, Hugu. Really wonderful answer. And it's amazing to me that despite all of those challenges, you're still having these positive relations with the forests, with the farmland, and both the reef and the open ocean. So thank you for sharing that with us. We've only got 3 minutes left. So rather than do any attempt at a wrap up myself, I wondered if you have any final statements, or you want to tell people how they can find out more about your work or contact you. And then once you've shared that, we'll bring this session to a close with big thanks to the technical team and the Oxford Real Farming Conference team as well.
For these 30 years, what I'm doing is, I will always say that striving for surviving and reviving. And sometimes we say that we are resisted to exist. Sometimes we have some progress. Say in 2005, we are successfully to set up the indigenous people's conserved territory of a sea territory of 6 nautical miles. Actually, there's a cover about our coral reef, and also in the French fish season that the industrial or commercial fishing boats cannot come into this territory. This is by resistant fighting and then negotiation with the government to they set up the, of course not in the law. In the law we still have not recognized the rights on land, sea, territory, and on the resource. But this is set up by their endorsed by their administration regulation. So if we keep our way, so now the internal pressures is, if our next generation do not try to keep our way, to keep the living knowledge system, to keep the land sea ethic, because your value system change, because the way you make a living is changed. Now you live on money and the market. You're not to live on sea and land and nature. Then we were gone. But it is so difficult. I know that for this your movement, so I'm good that you invite me to participate this the Gaia Foundation or the organizer of this ORFC. I know they are working on some kind of agroecology or something, or ecological or agriculture. But how you define it, you will need the knowledge system. You need the value system, the ethic, and you need the supporting network. I hope that in the future we still can keep this connection to make a supporting network to what I'm talking about, the embeddedness and the connectedness is the kernel of the way of living and the style of our life. Thank you, Ayui.
Thank you so much, Hugu, and thank you everybody. And hopefully we'll see you at some future events on the Oxford Real Farming Conference.